Okay everyone, welcome back to a new week of GT Sport Daily Racing. We're going to be starting this video off with Daily Race A at Suzuka, the full course in the NSX Type R. And this is actually a fairly fun combination. It's actually a shame this race is only 3 laps. So yeah, if you do enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. It really does help the channel out, helps with the growth. And yeah, let's get on with this race. So starting from a standing start, we're going into turn 1. We're racing on the sports medium tyres with the, like I say, NSX Type R. And this is a really enjoyable combination. I have to say, it's a lot more fun than I expected. And one tip is, third gear is your friend through this first sector. It's a really good idea to just not shift. Just keep it in third gear, let the car flow through these corners, and yeah, don't go down to second gear. But as we come through here, we see a little bit of chaos kicking off, and we managed to get ourselves up to P10, well, briefly P9, but then we got a car on our inside who takes that away from us, and we're going to try and go around the outside of that car and hold the inside for the next line, for the next corner, which we managed to do. So back up to P9, and then as we come up the top of the hill here, we got the white NSX going for a move on the inside of P7. He gets that moved on. They're going to go side by side through here, so I decided to cheekily just follow the white NSX through. We see we go on the inside there and pull off a nice move up into P8 as the white NSX there has a bit of a sideways moment. We're going to come through this corner, and he was really sliding everywhere, this guy in front of us, all over the place, but luckily he didn't bin it there. So into the next braking zone, we're going to go for a little bit of ascent here into the brakes, nicely up the inside, down into second gear, keep it under control on the apex, onto the throttle as early as we can in second gear, and now working our way up into the spoon corner. So fast forward in this action, we've got a bit of a gap to P6, you can see there, as we're pushing on through here, keeping it in third gear all the way through that long left hand corner through spoon, and then into 130R. Now don't shift into 5th gear before 130R, you don't need to do it, because this car revs out quite high, and if you shift up, you lose a lot of time. So into the braking zone for the final chicane, and we're right behind this group here. As we go on the inside there, we can see a 1 second penalty for P6, so that is one position that we don't need to worry about. But again, you can see the difference with shifting here, so keep an eye on it. As we're on the right hand side of P6, he shifts up into 5th gear early. Now I let it rev out and watch the difference. You can see that little bit of gain we do there, and then into the braking zone, braking just around the 100 ball, maybe a little bit later. I'm taking it really cautious here, but we've got a nice line on the inside, so we're going to go up into P5. We've got a P4 there off the track, and as he rejoins them two yellow NSX nearly take each other out, but we're up to P4. Enjoyable start to the race, and now we're going to keep it nice and smooth through here in third gear. This is what I'm talking about. Just keep it in third gear, let the car be really smooth, lift off the throttle, let the car coast, and it's a really fun combination, I have to say. It is a shame that this wasn't a bit longer. I would actually think this combination could make a really good Daily Race C if it had maybe some tyre changing in there as well. It could be quite entertaining, but yeah, it's quite good for a Daily Race A, I have to say. So into the next 2 corners, we're going to have a look up the inside, and this was a bit brave. I didn't know if he'd give me the space, but he did. We give him the space back on the left-hand side, so nice bit of racing there with the red NSX, and then up into P3. So quite a nice start to this race, and we've got the car in front of us with a penalty, so he's going to be taking that, and hopefully we can get ourselves up into P2. So fast forward in the action as we come through to the penalty zone, and you're going to see he's just about to take this as we go through spoon again, and yeah, he's taking that penalty, and that is going to put us up to P2. And again, don't want to go into 5th gear here, so this is why, if you watch, just keep it revving, and it won't hit the limiter before you have to start lifting anyway, so there's just no point to go in 5th gear before that 130R. So again, into the braking zone, braking just in between the 150, maybe just after the 150. You can probably brake in between the 150 and the 100 if you want to be ultra aggressive, but this car really does reward smooth driving. So over the line, we're going to go over the line with not a particularly amazing lap. We've had to do some overtakes, but it is the fastest lap of the race. So you can see there 224.1. Like I say, we can go a lot faster than that, but as we're coming through the final lap, we make a big mistake going into the spoon corner, run wide and get dirty tyres, just about keep it on the track though. That was so close to losing control, so we're down to P3 again. Very lucky not to lose control. Now one thing about Daily Race A is track grip on the edge is set to low, so when you do run off track you don't really get dirty tyres. So we're going to get the slipstream from P2 and see if we can go for a move, and you're going to see he actually shifts to 5th gear. You can see it now, he goes up to 5th gear, and that just gives us a run on the inside. And yeah, we're now going for that move back into P2, keeping the car on the track. You see no dirty tyres, because like I say, on Daily Race A, track grip is set as low, so you don't really need to worry about them dirty tyres as much. So yeah, back up to P2, and quite a fun combination. I think you lot are going to enjoy it. I certainly had quite a bit of fun here. I can imagine it being fairly entertaining from the back of the grid. So like I say, if we go onto the American account, I'll probably do a couple of daily race A's this week when we're streaming it, because I think we're going to have some fun with that. But mainly, obviously, we'll be doing daily race C. But for daily race B, we have Kyoto. Now, it's the reverse layout in Group 3. The Supra, as usual, is going to be the dominant car. It's almost like they're sponsored by Gran Turismo or something. But yeah, as we start this race, we're starting in P2. We did do a race before this, absolutely ballsed it up. We crashed, and yeah, I ended up quitting out and decided to jump into time trial to try and get a little bit more used to it. So jumped into time trial, managed to get a slightly better lap time in, and we're on a 1:31.4, I think it was, in time trial. We managed to get like 4 or 5 laps in, so a little bit more warmed up this time. And now we're going to see if we can fight P1 for the win in this race. So again, this combination, I think I actually prefer it this way round to the other way round, purely because the chicane is a little bit less, what's the word to use? So it's very tricky, the chicane on this downhill section. However, it's a little less reliant on cutting too much, because I think it just seems to suit it better on this downhill section. But you have to be incredibly smooth. It's so easy to lose control of the car on that downhill section. If you really nail it, you can gain a lot. But like I say, I think this layout actually works better for me. I enjoy it a bit more on this reverse layout than I do the proper way. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. On this long right hand corner, you have to be very careful you don't put that throttle down too early, because if you do, you're going to have to give it a little lift, because you sometimes can understeer off the track there. But through this section, I just give it a little safety lift as we come down here. You see a lift off the throttle, keep the car biting, get that rotation on the corner and back on the throttle. And we actually gain a couple of attempts on P1 through that section. Now into this final corner again, this is one of them corners that I can never ever get right. It's probably one of the corners on this track that I've always had trouble with. But you have to make sure you're lifting off and getting off the throttle nice and early to get the rotation, and don't get back on that throttle until you feel the car has got enough grip, because otherwise you understeer off onto the grass, and yeah, it will just lose you so much time. But now into the braking zone, we see P1 goes a little bit wide there. That's going to give us a slipstream, just 3 tenths behind them. We've got P3 not far behind us also there. And we're going to come into this corner where, again, you want to try and cut this corner off there and then bounce over the curb onto the throttle, use some of the curb on the left, and you've got plenty of room on the right then as you take into the next braking zone. Braking just before the 50 board, down into second gear for this corner. Try and get the car nice and close to that blue bit of tarmac on the right, and then powering your way on this downhill section. Now this section is so tricky. This is what I say, you have to be really smooth. So I wasn't taking any risks, I was just being nice and safe. You see 4th gear down to 3rd, be nice and safe, just get it through the corner and just pick that slipstream back up, which we do there. So fast forward in the action as we come through again this really long right hand corner, and you can see we're still in that slipstream, working our way on the downhill section. We tended to gain on P1 on that little section every time on that downhill section, obviously because of slipstream, but he seemed to lift a little bit more than what I was doing when we were working our way through that really fast chicane. And then again, fast forwarding all the way through this lap so far, and you can see we're getting fairly close, around 3-4 attempts behind him. And again, up into this long right-hand corner. And again, we're going to rejoin the action here on the end of lap 3. And again, you can see the gap is around 6 tenths, 5 tenths. But you see, this is where I was gaining, because I think I was being a bit more brave through here. It's very easy to run wide. He seemed to be giving it a little bit more of a lift and just making sure that he doesn't run wide and get a penalty. But again, this final corner, I really struggle through here. As we see, P3 has dropped off quite a bit here now. We're now 1.8 seconds ahead of him, so it's just a battle between myself and P1, and this was an enjoyable race. P1 driving very well, clearly knows this track very well. Not really my strength, if I'm honest, this track, but I do enjoy. It's more enjoyable than the other way, in my personal opinion, because I don't know whether for me it flows a little bit better in reverse than it does the proper way, but I'm sure there's people out there that prefer it the normal way. But in general, I'm not a massive fan of the fictional tracks. I do prefer my real life tracks, as P1 goes very close to picking up a penalty there. I half thought that I was going to see a penalty appear above his car, but he got away with it there. And yeah, we're still in that slipstream, and then working our way onto the downhill section again. It's so easy to want to push aggressively through. You can see I was starting to lose the slipstream here because of a mistake on that right hand corner. I didn't get on the throttle right, so I went really aggressive through here and messed it up slightly and didn't really carry the speed out, so we actually lost the slipstream at this point. And then that was pretty much race over. We finished the race, but an entertaining race. We kept him honest all the way to the end, and we take a P2. So now we're going to move on to daily race C, and I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to see so much chaos this week, because It's Group 1, it's Fuji, it's dirty air, and yeah, there's going to be people starting from the back, people starting from the front that are fast. It's going to be very chaotic if you catch up drivers, and there's some drivers that are going to drive this pretty dirty. I'm going to be honest. This is a bit chaotic, this race, and yeah, don't go anywhere because you're going to want to watch this. So starting from P16, we're starting on the medium tyres. You do need to use both tyres, the medium and the soft tyre, and the Toyota is the car for the race. For time trial, it's going to be the Audi. I'm going to set a time with the Audi later on. I have set a time with the Toyota, but it's not particularly brilliant. But as we come through here, we see a lot of chaos going on. Cars losing time, and yeah, you can see a lot of hits and bumps and that going on. This is going to be the story for this week. And then as we come through, we're going to go down the right hand side. We tap the car in front and then go down the right side. Luckily, I didn't see Adapt behind us, so I apologise to him there because I only realised that he was that close to us when I watched this back when we recorded it. So didn't even see him going down the inside, but we would have held that inside line anyway. But as we go through there, we managed to jump ourselves up to P11. But then as we come through here, keep an eye on this car on the right hand side. He kind of turns into me and pushes me left. So look at him turning the opposite way into the corner, and he's pushing to the left and just pushes us off, which was a bit frustrating. But yeah, it was 100% on purpose as well, because you're going to see what he does again at the start of lap 2. So this driver was a little bit dirty in front, in my personal opinion. But as we come through here, I pick up a penalty because we try and get an undercut there, and I ended up hitting the bollard, and that is a 1 second penalty. So this race has started absolutely awful. But I do know that this combination is going to be very, very strong for me, I think, this week. So I will be possibly doing this on my main account when we stream it a lot and try and get our DR as high as we can. Can we achieve our biggest ever DR this year or ever? Let me know in the comment section. Do you reckon I can do it this week? I'm curious. I think we can go very high. So we're going to go for a move here into turn 1, slamming the brakes on, and we just about make the corner. However, watch this as we come on the exit. He just barges us off the track, and again, I watched that back on the replay, and it's 100% deliberate. And then we're going to hold the inside line here, and the car behind just decides to pump me straight off. Now, this guy said that we blocked him, but we're going to watch this back because I think I just held my line on the inside. I mean, let me know in the comment section, but we're off the left. We've just been punted off. Now, we're slowing it down so you can see. We're on the left-hand side of the track. We're covering that left-hand side of the track. He's got plenty of time to go to the right-hand side. We're still there. Still there. He could have gone to the right number of times, and he just goes to hit us, and then just, you can see, he just accelerates into me. I personally think that is 100% a deliberate takeout, but he said that we just blocked his line. I think we just held our line on the inside, but yeah, we rejoined the track. We're all over the place. We've got dirty tyres, and this race is turning into a disaster. However, we're not going to give up. I was so close to smashing that reset button and quitting and then doing another race because I was wound up, but yeah, we're down to P17 and we started on the medium, so this has been an absolute nightmare of a start. So into the braking zone, we brake very late, and we're actually going to end up tapping the car in front as they all group together and pinball off each other. And then we've got the car that just took us out right on our left, and I was like, I'm not going to give this up. Straight through. We give him a little nudge there to show our annoyance at him, because I'm pretty sure that was 100% a deliberate takedown. But we're back up to P13 now. Absolute chaos going on here. We've got a 1 second penalty to take. That's going to drop me all the way back down. So I don't think you could have a race to start any worse than what this race has started like. So if we can recover anything out of this, it's going to be a good job. So I decided to do something quite brave. We saw wind pit lap 1, so I thought, well, we'll try it. So as we're going to go down here, we're going to go for a pit stop, and another car goes in the pits there, and that wasn't his fault. That was just a case of two cars joining the pits at different speeds. So no issue with that, with Womack there. Nothing he could do. So we're going to go to the left-hand side of the track. Now, we make sure we brake quite early, and you can see Womack there brakes a little bit too late. We take the inside line, and we're up into P18. So, yeah, what a great start to this race, but yeah, not gone too well. So at least we're going to have some clear air. You can see we start lap 3. I'm going to go through a quick track guide while we're talking. So into brake turn 1, you're going to brake in between the 150 and the 100 board, down through the gears. Hold second gear a bit before you go down to first gear. Briefly up to first, then back up to second gear. That will help with the traction. And now you're going to be looking at the next braking zone, which is in between the 150 and the 50 board, where you're going to chuck that car into this left-hand corner, down into 4th gear, use some of the curb on the left, get on the throttle as early as you can, and then all the way through here, stay in 4th gear in the Toyota, then just lift off the throttle, let the car coast through the corner, and then into the next braking zone, braking between the 100 and the 50 board, down to 2nd gear, get it into the apex, and then back on the throttle as early as you can. Now you're going to be looking for the overhead board, I think it's a Dunlop board or something like that, as we go into the next braking zone. You can see it there, the yellow board there, the Dunlop board, braking pretty much dead on that. Down into 2nd gear, and again, just hold that 2nd gear, down to 1st gear, then back up to 2nd gear before you get into this part of the track, and really use the momentum through that corner. Briefly up to 3rd before going back down to 2nd to get the rotation for there, and then into this next braking. As the curb ends on the left there, you're going to just get onto the brakes, start coasting, down to 1st gear, back up to 2nd gear, on the throttle nice and early, and then into the final corner. Again, use 1st gear here because it really does rotate the car into the apex, and it gives you a nice solid exit off the corner. And yeah, not an amazing lap, if I'm honest. We can go quite a bit faster than that. I think we can go 3 or 4 attempts quicker, but we go over the line with pretty much heavy fuel on there, full fuel pretty much, and it's a 24.2, so I do think we can get them lap times into the 23s if we hook up a reasonable lap. So skipping a little bit further ahead, we've got some cars pitting off the medium tyres, so we're going to gain a couple of positions there with this huge undercut that we're going for. So you can see as we go past the pit lane, we've got ourselves up into P14 now. So we have gained some positions there, but we're going to have really worn tyres. You can see my tyres already are starting to wear, and we're not even halfway through this race. So yeah, it's going to get quite hard to keep this car going towards the end of the race as we skip a little bit further on in the race, and we caught up to P13, who is having, I think his tyres are feeling quite worn himself there. You can see he's really struggling on them tyres. He's a little bit sketchy, and then we come through this corner, we can see we've got an opportunity, go up the inside, down to 1st gear. He gives us just enough space, we give him just enough space on the right side, some good racing there, and then we've got the line into this final corner. So up into P13, and there's going to be more people going into the pits on this lap now. So again, the medium runners, a lot of people pitting off the medium tyre on lap 6. I think the optimal way to run this, if in terms of tyre life, is 7.6. Now, if you do start on the mediums, though, you're probably going to pit on lap 5 for that little bit more of an undercut. So you can see here, as we come out of this down the straight, we got a car on our right hand side, and unfortunately we don't get ahead of him. That was quite frustrating because we really needed to get ahead of him. You can see wind just up there in front of us. Obviously, we are starting to catch wind up, but obviously now we're going to be stuck behind this driver. But he has got fresh tyres. He should, in reality, be able to pull away from us on them fresh tyres, because our tyres are pretty old now. They're 6 laps old, I think it is, and they're going to be quite second-hand. And we've got a long way to go in this race. So we're going to keep him under pressure, though, because you never know, we might be able to go for a move somewhere if we can just hang in that slipstream. Now, one thing about this combination is it's got an incredibly high amount of dirty air through these corners. Group 1 at this track is very difficult to follow someone, so just bear that in mind when you're on this track. So the undercut is definitely worth doing, because even if you've got worse tyres, if a car is behind you, they are going to struggle. And I can tell you, this was actually really difficult at this point of the track, on this point of the race, to really stay with P7, because my tyres are fading, we're in dirty air, and all I'm trying to do here is stay as close to that slipstream as possible so we can possibly go for a move in the braking zone. So again, try and get a good tight exit to that corner and on the throttle as early as we can. And we've managed to stay in the slipstream, which I was quite surprised at, because our tyres are feeling very, very old at this point. So we got a nice slipstream off P7. We're going to go for a move possibly into the braking zone. You can see we're picking up the slipstream, picking it up, and I decide, do you know what, we're going to send this. We've got a car coming out the pits. We brake as late as we can, and again, we just managed to stop it from running wide, and we managed to get ourselves up that one position. However, the Spanish driver who's just come out the pits manages to get ahead of us, and that was a nice move to put us up into P6. So yeah, we're now behind P5, who's got the fresh tyres, and we're in that dirty air, but unfortunately there's not much I can do about passing him. Once we're in that dirty air to someone on fresh tyres, it is very, very difficult to do much about it. But yeah, we've managed to recover to at least P6 here, which is quite good going, and we still have some other cars that are going to need to pit in this race, so it is going to be interesting where we manage to finish in this race. We're going to try and defend from this other driver that's come out on the fresh tyres a lap earlier, and this is going to be very difficult. Can we hold this position while trying to keep good lap times? That is going to be the problem here, especially looking at the tyre wear on the car. The tyres look pretty dead already, and we've got quite a long way to go in this daily race C. So again, keep it as tight as we can to that corner, on the throttle as early as we can. We actually get a really good exit off the corner there, and try and take a tight line through here so we don't get that dirty air from P5, just to try and be able to get on the power a little bit earlier. And you can see we've got a bit of a gap to the car behind, but luckily we've just about stayed in the slipstream to P5, so that's going to help us all the way into the braking zone. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the slipstream, and then as soon as he's in a position to go for a move, we're going to go to the middle of the track, hold the middle of the track, brake early. He goes quite late on the brakes. Now all we have to do now is just hold the apex, get on the throttle as early as we can, and we manage to hold onto that position. We gain a few as people pit, and wind has actually bottled it there. Wind has obviously spun on the curb, and we're up to a podium position in this race. After the start that we had, a podium would be an insane finishing position. However, our tyres are really, really old, so we're going to have to do our best to hold on to this. So again, hold in the middle of the track, brake early, get the apex hit, and again, just trying to hold lines as we get hit from behind there. Obviously, he's got fresh tyres, but we're doing nothing wrong. Our driving is 100% fair here, holding the lines and making sure that we make it very difficult for the car behind to get past. This is going to be a very, very difficult end to this race. So you can see we've got a bit of a gap to the car behind this time, and we don't have the dirty air to P2. However, we do not have the slipstream also. So again, on the straight, he's going to get the slipstream behind us. We're going to go over to the right side of the track just to try and briefly break that slipstream, and then back over to the normal racing line. And then again, just as we're going to come to the braking zone, we're going to go back to the middle of the track, just so that he can't really go for a move on the inside, and if he goes on the outside, then yeah, we can brake nice and early and try and hook up the corner, which we do again. You see onto the apex nice and early, and then we look in the mirror, he's clipped the curb and he's spun himself. So that is really good for us, because now we've got no one behind us other than Adept. However, Adept is on really fresh tyres, so you can see by lap 12 he was catching us up, and he's nearly in that slipstream. So again, we're going to have to defend with these tyres that are very second hand. I mean, the left hand side are completely dead, the right hand side have a little bit of grip left in them. The P2 there does have a penalty, but I don't think that's going to come into play. I think it is a 1 second, but he's over 2 seconds ahead. I think he's nearly 3 seconds ahead there, so yeah, it's probably not going to come into play here. So into this final sector, we're going to have to make sure we hook up this final corner. We get quite a good exit off that corner, as Adept is right behind us. He's within 4 tenths of us, and now we're onto the straight, and he's going to get our slipstream. So again, we're going to go to the right hand side of the track and do exactly what we did with the other car. So keep it to the right, and then back over to the left, and then once we're into the braking zone, we're going to go to the middle of the track, just so that it makes it very difficult for him to go for a pass. So into the middle of the track, and he's not probably going to go for a move on the inside. You can see he's going to try and take a really wide line and get a good exit, but as long as we hold the apex nicely there and get on the throttle nice, and you can see as soon as he's in that dirty air, you can see the rear of his car just stepping out, because that it is so difficult to drive in the dirty air here. So if you can keep the position, it's worth doing, and this is why the undercut will be very strong here this week. If you can just pit early and just pull up with the tyre life, you might be able to get some good positions with very early pit stops. So again, into this corner, just holding as much of a light defensive line as we can. He's got the run on us on the outside. However, all we have to do here really is hold the right hand side of the track, which I'm going to do, and then just into the braking zone, making sure I braked early here, because I didn't want to outbrake myself. And again, you can see that he's really struggling. As soon as he's in the slipstream, it's very difficult for him to put the power down. So again, trying to keep it nice and smooth on these final corners, and if we can recover this to a podium, I would be very happy. So again, into this final set of corners, trying to get a good exit. We actually get a really strong exit off that corner, and then into the final corner. All we've got to do here now is hook up the apex, which we do reasonably well considering the tyre life, and onto the throttle. And we go to the right side of the track, and he's actually picked up a penalty. So I think he picked up half a second penalty on one of the corners. And we're going to go over the line, and as we go over the line, P1 has been demoted again. We're up to P2 because P1 didn't change his tyres. He stayed on the soft tyres, or I don't know what he did, but he didn't pit, or he pitted and did 2 sets on the soft tyres. So we managed to recover that with a P2, which I was actually pretty happy with. Absolute chaotic race. It's going to be fun this week, I think, because we're going to leave our second account for racing from the back, and we're going to do our main account from the front of the grid. So yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think of this week's races. Let me know in the comment section what you think about some of the racing that happened in this video, and I will see you for more videos very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.